pretty good kind of follow up right off the back of that is, when to think about paid acquisition as an early stage marketplace too.
Yeah. So there's, I separate this into two elements, which I call like Kindle strategies versus fire strategies. And there are things you're going to do that completely are non-scalable. They won't work long-term, or the math doesn't even work right now. But since you're an early stage startup, you do them to try to get you into a state where they're going to help you work later on. And a lot of times paid acquisition is pretty good for that. I can just throw money at the problem, see if people come in, see if I'm able to confirm they're finding value in the product. And that's like, might be the fastest way to do it, in which case I'm totally happy with that. But a lot of times the things you're doing as Kindle strategies are like totally unique, random nonsense that only makes sense for the marketplace you're trying to build. When you get to fire strategies, that's when I think about building sustainable loops that drive growth of the product over time. And there's really only a few that tend to matter. So while there's all these potential Kindle strategies to get early users in and see if you can confirm your product hypotheses, to actually scale your marketplace, there's really only a few that will work. One is the sales loop, right? Which is usually the most understood, right? You are, you're basically going out, acquiring usually the supply side, and they're making you enough money that you can reinvest that profit into expanding the sales team with more people. And that's how that becomes a sustainable loop. And then the next most common is performance marketing. We're spending money to acquire a user. It could be on either side of the marketplace. They're making you enough profit that you can reinvest into more ads. And that's how it's sustainable. So the main issue with paid acquisition is if you don't have a network effect, then what you do is you target the best users who have the highest conversion rate or the highest LTV at the start. And then a year later, you're targeting people who aren't quite as interested. They aren't as good a user. They don't order as often. They don't have as high a conversion rate when you reach out to them. And then you fast forward like 5 years later and you're all of a sudden can't get a payback period at all. So when paid acquisition is the default lever, you have to have a network effect that is making the product better faster than the users you're targeting to acquire into the product get worse. Because the users you're targeting are going to get worse. That's like, if you're doing performance marketing at all in the right way, you're going to target the best people first. So naturally, the people you're targeting in year 5 probably aren't as good. So what happened at Grubhub, for example, is sure, the users we were targeting early on were the people who were already ordering food back when they had to call people on the phone and wait on hold and give your credit card information over the phone number, which now sounds completely batshit. Why would anyone have done that? But people did that before online ordering. So naturally, we targeted those users first, and those people converted really high. Everything about ordering online is so much better. But then you have to switch to people who like didn't order food before online ordering was a thing, right? And they're a little bit harder to convert. They don't have as much frequency. They don't order food as often. But what made up for that fact is the people we were targeting who used to order food on the phone, back when we tried to convert them, we maybe had 10 restaurants for them to choose from. And the people that we started targeting a few years later that didn't order food before, we had 500 restaurants for them to choose from, right? So the product got better way faster than our targeting got worse, which is why when you think about product market fit, you're not concerned about like GMV growth or how fast you're growing. You're concerned about like, okay, is that liquidity really there? Like the supply side and the demand side are getting value where they want to come back. And if you've confirmed that you have that cross-site network effect and that your product's getting better, not by you adding a bunch of features, but by you just having so much more selection, or there's so many more people that are generating business, then paid acquisition is usually a fantastic accelerant to someone that should already be growing without it. So in the case of Grubhub, we were growing via SEO on the demand side, sales on the supply side. Drop paid acquisition is an accelerant, and now you're growing 20% faster than you would be, or 30 or 40% faster than you would be. And our payback periods at Grubhub the entire time we were there were less than 6 months on paid acquisition. So you're getting your money back really quickly. You can reinvest it really quickly. All of that's great. Where that becomes less interesting is you're like, oh, my payback period is a year and a half. Then maybe like you're not able to target the right users, or your product value isn't where it needs to be, and you should be investing that money elsewhere, or you should be trying to build a different type of loop that's going to target better users for you. Maybe it's through content, maybe it's through virality, maybe it's some other method. So that's the way I think about paid. If it's the primary lever, I'm usually a little bit scared. As an accelerant to marketplaces, it normally is a no-brainer.